Pashbo Proudfeet here. Well, today is the day. Yes, after a final meal of eggs and onion, a full hobbit breakfast, some fried mushrooms, cooked carrots, shire spiced apple pie, washed down with a pint of black roast brown, and a quick nap, I decided to set out from Bag End for the start of my legendary quest, following in the footstep of Frodo Baggins. Of course, I also had a quick, perfect pie to build up that last bit of energy. So I headed off. I couldn't resist firing a final verbal shot at the Sackville Baggins duo. I'll certainly be happy to leave them behind. Leaving Hobbiton as secretly as I could, I headed in the direction of Tookland. Journey's end for the day had me nestling up against a tree. This looks as near as I could find to the trees before Woody End, just east of Tuckborough, where the company of three spent the first night. I fell asleep with the rousing chorus of "The road goes ever on and on" in my mind, and a beautiful sleep was had. I'm loving this adventuring life. Day 2 of my trek. I like to call this Tree's Company. Anyway, I started to venture on my own towards Woodall. Now, there was no need to hide from any black riders like Frodo had to. I did hear a shriek at one point, but I'm assuming that was just birds. Could have been black riders, I guess, or more likely could have been Passionor trying to work out where I'd gone to. Oh dear, I had to speed up at that point. Anyway, Journey's End was at the abandoned elf camp. Could this be the very same camp where the company met Gildor? I can't be sure, although I did manage to share a laugh and a joke with an elf companion of my own. Day 3. Leaving the elf camp behind me, I made my way through Farmer Maggot's farm. Now, in the old days, the sight of his dogs would have filled me with fear, but no, I'm a hardened adventurer now. I visited both Carndam and Mirkwood, so I'm content to risk the wrath of the canines. After a short chat with old Maggot, I made my way to the ferry, munching on mushrooms as I went. A few of which I stole, what with me being a burglar and all. I do believe, though, from his knowing look, that he knew I smuggled a few away. That night, I spent at Crickhollow. I wish someone would repair that door. It's a bit nippy. Although I kept it a bit of a secret, Fatty Bolger soon guessed that I was again following in the journeys of Frodo. Right. I left Crickhollow bright and early in the morning. Shared a couple of meals with Fatty Bolger before entering the darkness of the old forest. A funny old place by all accounts. I've got lost in here on many an occasion. I recall in particular a very frustrating walk around a few years ago searching for rare flowers. These days, of course, I have a much better sense of direction. There again, I did make the mistake of leaning against Old Man Willow for a brief 40 winks, and would you believe it? Next thing I knew I was submerged within its boughs. Luckily for me, I knew the "Ho Tom Bombadil" rhyme sufficiently to call Tom to my rescue. I danced my way to the Bombadil household, chatting in as nonsensical manner as I could. Tom is the perfect guest, you know, and treated me to a very generous meal, very satisfying, and it is here that I set myself down to sleep for the night. Can't talk. Eating. Now, although I'm very fond of the company of Tom Bombadil, I do find that there are so many merry dolls that I can only put up with a few each day. Anyway, I hung around for breakfast or two before having a little look around, but I was very disappointed because Goldberry was nowhere to be seen. Luckily though, she had prepared me the most glorious supper, which was very promptly eaten. Tomorrow, I'm off to the Barrow Downs, but for tonight, another night in Tom's house. Good night. I left Tom Bombadil's household bright and early and made my way out of the old forest and onwards to the old Barrow Road. Here I found a group of travellers each trying to persuade me to help them out. Of course I didn't have time. I'm a very busy hobbit, you know, with a quest to do. Anyway, I was quite tempted to exit the Barrow Downs at this point and make my way to the Prancing Pony. I could nearly taste the froth on the beer. But, well, I have to do this journey properly, you know, so instead I wandered aimlessly around in the fog until I found myself in a barrow. Very unwelcoming, despite all of its history, decidedly cold, and not somewhere I would choose to sleep. But it is here that my journey has to end tonight. What was that tapping me on the shoulder? There's nothing like a night in a cold barrow to set your heart and mind firmly racing at the thought of a nice pint of Barliman's best brew. So I left as early as I could, making my way towards the town of Bree. On arrival, I muttered a few angry words at the sight of Harry Goatleaf. I've never trusted him, you know. Plus he has a bit of halitosis. The Prancing Pony was as welcoming as ever, and I spent a short while talking to Barliman Butterbur. After eating, I decided to join the rest of the company in the inn and treated them to a quick rendition of There Is an Inn, a Merry Old Inn. But I was quite surprised at the unrest and discomfort this caused to the onlookers. It's as if it provided some unwelcome memories. Or maybe it was just my singing. But anyway, it has been the most pleasant of days. The one disappointment I had was I tried to get in to see Strider, but his door was firmly shut. How very rude. Anyway, good night from me.